that.
Get on work mode.
Yep. Hate when I get things. So we start in earth pose. Yeah, good. Earth pose. And we'll center through the central channel. So breathe in from your belly all the way up through your crown. Crown rises as you breathe out and root down through your pelvic floor. So feel yourself open, long, and curvy. Move your awareness to the fullness of your rib cage. Push it wide to the sides, to the back, to the front. Feel it rising on all sides. Push your seat hands forward to the horizon. You can flap wide, up and down to connect to all sides of your rib cage. Squeeze your paws and weight more to the forefront of your feet. If you need to do a little movement side to side, just to reintegrate from feet to hips to soften each foot as you squeeze. Now, as you shift left, lift your right foot and step wide off your mat. Shift right, step left foot wide off your mat. Shift to your left foot, hover your right heel and swivel your right heel in. Shift right, swivel your left heel in. So you look slightly like a ballet dancer, but not quite that turned out. Let your heels be light as your ribs stay rising up through your crown. Yeah, breathe in, that's nice, good. And as you breathe out, you're going to squat halfway down, but keep your ribs rising. Now the heels will swivel back as your ribs tip forward and you touch dome hands, each fingernail tip towards the floor. Then Molly, just tip your chin forward slightly so your neck gets long. Good, yes, there we go. Now extend your left hand forward from your left base ribs, walk forward, dome hand, drags back to spring hand. Reach right hand forward, dome to spring. And you'll step your feet back so they're a little bit wider than your hips. Step them back to crouching cat. Yep, there you go, with knees bent, good. And pull your chest and head forward and up to now slowly lower to your knees, all fours. Nice. Point your feet to the floor, and we call that zero hero, the tops of the feet on the floor. And just check your all fours. Sometimes as we come down, we get a little short. So check that your knees are a little behind your hips and slightly wider. Your hands are slightly in front of your wrists and just slightly wider than your shoulders. So that you have space to create long curves through your spine. Good, nice. All right, so breathe one more time from belly through your crown and from crown through your pelvic floor. And now as you move into your ribs and you feel them go wide to each side, back and front, you see how Molly's moving up and away from the floor, which helps her wrists get lighter so she can squeeze each base palm. And you can, same as your feet, shift left, squeeze right palm, shift right, squeeze left palm, so that you keep your tone from hands to heart. Nice. We go to feet, and you feel the top of your foot on the floor and point your foot like a dancer. So you feel big toe mound squeeze toward pinky toe mound. Push the center of your paw into the ground and hollow your ankles up away from the ground. And as you push forward, your knees push forward, you start to sit your hips back and wide to your left. As your left hip sits back, your right knee starts to open and you tuck your right toes under. Nice. And you see how Molly didn't, her right foot is still in line with her left heel. It didn't step forward. So she just opened the foot and tucked her toes under. Beautiful. The left shin can move slightly out to the left with your hero foot. Good. So now she's sitting back and rooting deep. on the exhale. And as you breathe in, push your right ribs wide and up to dome your right hand and tip your left ear to your left shoulder. Now exhale, push your paws forward to sit back. You lower your hand to spring. You inhale and push up and over, stretch your whole right side up. Squeeze your paws, sit back and wide. Do 2 more. Inhale, arc up all the way through your crown, tip ear to the floor. Good. And keep the arc as you squeeze your paws and sit back and wide. Widen your thigh bones and sit bones apart. Last one, heart lifts, dome hand. Keep your heart rising and full as you squeeze your paws and dig forward to sit back and wide. Good. Now as you pull forward, arc up and forward. Right hand will walk forward slightly to go back. You bring your right foot to hero and lower your right knee down. Nice. That's it. So both tops of the feet can go back to the floor, and just give yourself a moment to pause and feel. And be okay with the first time you're trying it seems a little confusing. That's okay. The more you repeat it, the easier it gets. So now you've kept the channel open from within. Refill ribs, palms squeeze. Point to your 0 hero, press down to hollow hero. And as you hero, feel your knees go forward and your hips widen back. And as they widen back, now move your hips to the right. So left knee opens and tuck your left toes under. Right shin can move a few inches to the right. Now sit back even a little deeper if you can. Yeah, different if you're pregnant. Baby may be in the way, so you go back as much as you can with your tail rising. Now push your left ribs wide and up, arc. You go to the fingernail tips of your left hand, dome. Dig your paws to your left as your hips go back and wide to your right. Inhale, left ribs fill, right ear tips to right shoulder. Dome hand. Squeeze your paws, dig, sit back and wide, stretch yourself long. Now stay rooting back as you inhale and rise up and over. See if you can keep your ribs pulling forward and up as you dig and root back and wide. Last one, go up and over as hips root. And as ribs rise, root your hips back and wide. Pull forward, all fours. Dome spring, left foot goes hero, left knee touches. Settle in the center with your ribs full. Feel the openness of the hips, the glutes mounting, even the sacrum tipping, the low back curving in. Now this time, and it will vary depending on where you are in your pregnancy, we're going to do some pulsations where we place one knee behind the other. So first, let's just pulse a few times in all fours to feel that sensation, and then we'll add the crossed leg to it. So heart fills, hands squeeze, and your crown fills away from your heart. Re-squeeze your 0 hero to hero so that you can widen your thigh bones and sit bones back and away from your arm bones. You sit back. Now keep rooting back and feel your ribs forward and up. So you stretch your belly and neck long. Squeeze your paws, root your hips away from your heart and head. 2 more of those. Breathe in, forward and up. Keep rising as you breathe out and root back and wide. Hips away from heart. Heart away from hips. Pull forward. One last one. Root back. Stretch your belly long. Ribs pull forward to center you back in all fours. If you're starting to feel a little pressure in your wrists, do the little alternating one side to the other to remind and reinform the base palm squeeze. All right, now we'll add the square leg pressed in and tucked behind the other. So heart feels, hand squeeze. Squeeze your paws to widen your thigh bones apart. You're going to lift your right knee off the floor and tuck it in right behind your left knee. So you'll feel the pressure of the right knee pushing up into the left, your left paw digging into the floor, and that widens your hip bones back. You sit back and wide. Good. Now feel your ribs forward and up through your crown. And dig again, push, knee forward, hips back. And Molly's modifying because the baby's blocking her from going all the way back. So she's extending and using her right foot in hero. So if you need the space, you can do that. And you push the hero foot down and the knee down to widen your hips. Otherwise, as you go back, press the right knee up into the left to help widen your thigh bones and sit bones back. Do one last one. Heart fills, hand squeeze. Now, as you push your right knee into your left, feel your thigh bones widen and your crown go forward. Inhale back to center. Lower your right paw, your right knee. You'll feel the left hip may have opened a lot and you've stretched all through the glute with tone. So that's what's so interesting about Bowspring is that we stretch while we're toning. So you'll strengthen and stretch at the same time. Let's do other side. Heart fills, hand squeeze, paws squeeze from 0 to hero, which widens your thigh bones back. And now sit slightly to your right hip so you can lift the left knee up. And you tuck your left knee up and behind your right so that you can push up into it. And as you push up, widen your hips back. That's it, good. And you breathe in, your base ribs fill. You pull forward, squeeze your palms. Breathe out, push your knee up, widen your hips back. Yeah, good. And also just gonna say, Molly, if you can, just a little bend in your knee. Yeah, to have that imaginary push down with the knee to widen your hip back. And if you have knee tucked behind, use the knee to push. And she's using her paw to power down to her knee and hip. Last one, knee or paw, roots to widen your hips. Keep the hips wide as you pull forward and up. And you lift your left knee back and out, lower your left paw, back to all fours. All right. One last movement. We're going to do seated side twist. So now we've got the hips nice and mobile and moving side to side. Now we're going to add a little more to that. So first heart fills, hand squeeze, always in this order. Now as you squeeze your paws to sit back, you're going to tuck your toes under to crouching feet. Lift your knees up off the ground. You may step slightly forward if you feel a little unstable. Your feet can move a few inches forward. Chest and head keep pulling forward. Now, just like in our humble cat, you're going to push your right ribs wide, tip your left ear to your left shoulder, you'll arc. Toes turn to the right. Good. Now breathe into your right side, lift it up, tip left ear to left shoulder. Push your paws forward to widen your hips back and to your left. And touch your left hip as lightly as you can to the floor. Goes back behind you and away from your hand. So when you touch your hip, and you saw how Molly touched hip lightly, at first it may be knee, eventually you get hip. And you see how she has space between her hip and hand, so the left arm stayed long. And she's rising through the right ribs, tipping left ear to left shoulder. And now this fullness in her rib cage is going to lift her up and forward back to crouching cat. And you reset, hard hands. Squeeze your paws. Now push your ribs left, arc right. Toes go to the left. Feel your pause squeezing, your knees bending. Lift your left ribs, right ear tips to right shoulder. Keep the lift of the ribs as you sit back and wide, slowly to your right hip. And it'll want to go quick. So in the moment it wants to go quick, can you pause and slow it down with the fullness of your rib cage? All right, let's try one more time. Ribs fill to pull you forward and up. So we're going to do 2 more times each side. Each time it gets easier. Yes, and the heart, you see how she's pulling her heart forward away from her rooting hips. Now arc left, wide ribs to the right, toes right. Right side lifts as left side lowers, back and wide. Touch your hip lightly. Now everyone feel your right foot. Feel the forefront of your right foot on the floor. Dig it, push it forward so that your hips root back and wide. Now breathe in and feel your ribs forward and up, back to your crouching cat. Arc right, toes left. Right, left side lifts. Dig your paws forward to sit back and wide. Touch light. And keep your left ribs rising. Connect with the left foot. Feel that you have the whole paw, big toe mount and pinky toe mount on the floor. Push it forward to root your hips back. And now breathe in, feel your left side, pull forward and up, crouching cat. Last one. Ribs right, left ear tips, toes to the right. Full breath in, right side rises. Right hand may even dome. Sit back and wide onto your left hip. Nice, so slow, good. Feel your right paw, push it forward so your hips root. Yeah, nice. And then inhale, rise up and forward, crouching cat. Awesome. Arc right, toes left. Left side rises, right side lowers. Good. Root your left paw, push it forward so hips go back. Nice. And you saw how her hips tipped when she did that. Now left ribs lift, pull forward, crouching cat. Now just to end, so that we can end standing mindfully, step wide, step wide. Shift back to your left hip so you can dome your right hand and slide it back to your right foot closer. Yep. And then you shift right and you dome left. And you just keep walking back until both hands get light. And place your hands horseshoe on your thighs to recovery. Feel your ribs fill, your crown lift away from your hips as your paws squeeze, your knees push up and your thigh bones widen back. And just breathe up your channel and keep rising through heart and head as you root down through your pelvic floor and your paws dig. One more breath in. Breath out. Now as you breathe in, lift your ribs and head up. So you come upright, push your seats forward, step into earth pose. You can lower your arms to earth, look to the horizon. Just feel the space you created within you, just moving your hips and ribs in different directions. Ta-da! It was perfectly timed.
Holy moly, drenching.